Hey, what is up, mortals? It is T-Seeker here, and welcome to part 21 of What If Deku Was a Saiyan. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. And so we begin. How dare! How dare you! Mirio-senpai is just a hero who does his best and gets stronger each day to protect everyone. Eri-chan is an innocent little girl who has done nothing to deserve any type of pain. You hurt people who want nothing more than to be happy. I just end up being a bystander if I keep doing nothing. And I won't watch this anymore! Midoriya belted with all his might. As his aura erupted outwards, the spikes which Shizuki sent towards him disintegrated. Shizuki had to use his hands to protect himself from the debris as well as the heat that Midoriya expelled. He removed his forearms from his eyes and looked forward. Midoriya wasn't the same anymore. His hair was much spikier than before. His eyes held more hatred within them. His aura was now twice as dense, as many times larger. But what stood out more to Shizuki was that fury present now crackled with lightning. What type of power-up is this? He thought, now preparing his spikes for defense. Even though Shizuki had always demonstrated how much of a monster he was by consistently destroying his allies as well as his enemies to reach the top, he felt truly scared, like he was facing some mythical beast. Shizuki couldn't figure out what was happening as well as what would happen. Even though the air around Midoriya is ferocious, his body didn't move an inch from his battle pose. Arching his back and facing the sky, the ground underneath him crumbled and broke into pieces as dust was blown away. Another shockwave blew away more rocks and dust as the ground beneath him got more and more unstable. His muscles bulged as it looked like his body grew a couple of inches, his hero costume becoming tighter as a result of this. He lowered his head to face Shizuki. Tears were floating upwards, blown that way due to the immense pressure. His face was not one of anger nor aggression. His eyes only displayed the pain and sorrow of his soul, almost like a window to his soul. Shizuki was frozen in place. What was he to do against such a creature? A being that went against anything he has seen before. Bubble Girl was carrying a small horned child who was telling her directions until they reached their destination. Sir Night-Eye, who was trailing both girls, looked ahead and saw the hole that Shizuki created. He jumped down level to level, hearing faint sounds of battle ahead. As he neared the sounds, the air got thicker and thicker, which made running tougher and tougher. He felt a presence that made his body pause for a second or two, until he fought through it and continued forward. He then came to an opening to a large space, which was mostly destroyed with debris everywhere. He scanned the area and quickly saw Midoriya. He was like something he had never seen. What was happening? What was pushing Midoriya to go this far? These were the only thoughts running through his mind until he turned slightly and saw a bloodied, stained white body. Midoriya noticed him from the corner of his eye and knew he had to do everything he could to keep Shizuki's focus on him. But what he wasn't prepared to see was Bubble Girl holding Eri in her arms. Bubble Girl had her hand on Eri's head, making sure that she didn't witness any of the terror happening right now. Midoriya, who returned his full focus on Shizuki, had steeled his resolve. He had to win, and he had to put an end to Shizuki's reign. What things did you do to Eri-chan? Midoriya shouted, trying to keep Shizuki distracted. I think a better question is, what didn't I do to her? You're better off asking her yourself, but I won't let you see her ever again. Suddenly, the spikes returned to Shizuki's side and flew towards Midoriya at breakneck speeds. Midoriya simply walked forward and swatted away the spikes with ease. High-pitched whistle was the only sound there was until a loud explosion quickly followed it. Midoriya was moving faster than Shizuki could keep up with. He was like he was teleporting around the room. The loud explosions each time he changed his position was the ground getting destroyed by each jump. You think you scare me? I've gone toe-to-toe with most of the local Yakuza. You're just an angsty teenager with emotional issues and a flashy do-nothing quirk. You can only imagine what I've gone through just to get closer to my goal.
my dream. Then you will know what I do is just and no.
You talk too much!
Midoriya interrupted as he punched Chizuki's stomach, sending him flying towards the back wall. Sir Night-Eye was in disbelief. He has not seen this type of power in years. It reminded him of his old friend.
You're gonna pay for everything you've done! And I haven't even started delivering the pain! You better hope that I'm feeling merciful after this, or you're going to die!
Midoriya threatened. His cold voice, along with his monstrous presence, terrified the villain. Chizuki was holding in contents of his stomach as much as he could. Chizuki, Midoriya, with his fist still firmly planted in Chizuki's caved-in abdomen, crouched and uppercutted him, which sent him flying upwards. Chizuki hit the roof and saw his opportunity. You fool! Now you're going to die for your stupidity! Chizuki shouted. He placed his hands on the roof and sent more spikes of concrete than ever before at the young hero. He remained still, with eyes of fury staring straight into Chizuki's soul. He abruptly lifts his arms together, cupping his hands. Ha! Midoriya screams as a blue beam of energy explodes outwards. The concrete spikes disintegrated almost immediately. As the blast neared Chizuki, he got as much of the concrete as he could around him, trying to protect himself. But it was useless. The beam almost vaporized the concrete which encased Chizuki. No one in attendance could believe a thing. There was only smoke to where Chizuki was. All of a sudden, through the smoke, a figure fell. The figure impacted against the ground, creating a dust cloud around it. As it cleared, Chizuki stood up, but with some struggle. The blast had injured him fatally. His left arm and leg were gone, as well as parts of his hair singed and skin burnt. His look of pure anger and pain almost amused Midoriya, bringing an almost half smile to his face. You think this is funny? Chizuki screamed. He was too focused on Midoriya to notice a white silhouette rising from the rubble behind him. Electricity started to blast outwards, and a white streak flew past Chizuki. A second later, a delayed hit caused the villain to stumble backwards. Chizuki, full of despair, looked up and saw both heroes triumphantly holding their fighting poses. Chizuki simply snarled at this and placed his remaining hand on himself and reassembled the left side of his body. He stood up and looked towards the teens. Their aura emanated from them, creating a barrier of heat that was almost impregnable.
It's good to see you again! Now let's finish this once and for all!
Midoriya joyfully said.
You read my mind, troublemaker!
Mirio responded, full of energy and life again. You heroes would be nothing without your powers. Let's see how you fare without them. Chizuki spoke as he struggled for breath with each part of the sentence. He pulled out a gun from his inner pouch and aimed it straight at them. He fired at both, but it was too slow for both of them, as their quirks have amplified not only their speed, but perception too. Mirio activated his premonition quirk and disappeared into the floor, while Midoriya practically vanished from where he stood. Before he could even comprehend that he missed, he was punched from below as Mirio emerged from the ground. As he was suspended in the air, Midoriya fired another blast, launched Chizuki into the ground, making another crater within the mass of craters all around the battlefield. He retaliated by firing 2 more shots at Midoriya. Both of them missed. Chizuki was fighting out of pure anger and determination. Determination to get Eri back. That's when he realized Mirio had no wound, almost like he was rewound. Chizuki mumbled. He lifted himself from the crater and searched the area, looking for the silver-haired girl. Bubble Girl, it's time. Get ready and follow everything I told you before is coming. Sir Night-Eye conferred with his psychic. He then walked 5 steps back and turned while Bubble Girl held onto Eri and ran around Sir Night-Eye and turned the corner, running towards the exit.
Miss Bubble Girl, where are the 2 boys?
Eri asked the blue hero.
You're going to be able to see them soon. Don't worry about it. We just need to get this one spot, and then you'll be safe. Safe and sound. The boys will kind of say hi.
Bubble Girl replied. Earlier, Sir Night-Eye used his foresight quirk to see the future of Ares' day and saw that they would return to an almost deceased Mirio and that they would be able to escape, but unsure whether both teen heroes come out alive. It was a risk, but he knew that he needed to save both his students' prodigies and their futures. Eri told him about her power, not sure what it was, but what it could do. She saw Mirio, in her dying breaths, praying for her to smile so she could be happy. She didn't accept that Mirio was dying and activated her quirk on Mirio, rewinding his wound and regaining his power. Mirio didn't skip a beat and returned to the fight. "Give back Eri!" Chisaki shouted, changing the ground beneath him into his own concrete armor. "You are a despicable person, God, Chisaki, and all the rewards you hope to reap will fall from your grasp. You have fallen. Hand yourself to us or experience a truly horrifying end." This time, Sir Night-Eye had something that the students lacked. The experience and knowledge of creating a killer aura, demoralizing their opponents. A silence befell the battlefield as all stood there, waiting for the villain's response. 2 gunshots rang out, dispelling the short quietness. Sir Night-Eye simply sighed and shuffled around the projectiles. Die, you stupid, blinded heroes! Chisaki blared as he lashed out and fired his spikes all around. Sir Night-Eye just walked around the spikes, while Mirio and Midoriya were starting to get close to their upper limits, getting scrapes and slight cuts as the spikes near missed them. "Where is that heroic spirit, Midoriya? Where is that smile, Mirio? Where are the 2 heroes I accepted into my agency with hopes to make them top heroes of the next generation? If I don't see these 2 again, I'm going to have to replace you after all this is done." Sir Night-Eye railed to his juniors. Midoriya and Mirio just glanced at each other and knew what had to be done.
"Guess it's time to go beyond, Mirio-senpai!"
Midoriya said, regaining his composure and holding a battle stance. Mirio stood alongside him, holding a similar pose.
Plus Ultra!
Both heroes shouted as they began the final stage of the fight. Chisaki was unleashing all that he could, his last-ditch effort to salvage whatever he could save. Though he lost himself slightly, he regained control and focused more attacks towards Bubble Girl, who was surrounded by the 2 teen heroes. Mirio had one trick up his sleeve, and this would be his only chance. Midoriya noticed he changed his pose, so he grabbed Bubble Girl and zipped all the way around the battleground to Sir Night-Eye, where he held on to both girls as they saw a bright yellow flash return to his origin. Midoriya ran into the spikes and started to bounce from spike to spike, accelerating with each warp. Midoriya leaned slightly on his back legs and squatted. He held his hands together, almost like he was holding a ball. All of a sudden, a blue light appeared as he focused his energy from both his palms. "Meh!" "You think puny tricks like this are enough to beat me?" Chisaki bellowed. "Ka!" Midoriya continued. He was now slowly approaching the villain. His spikes missed their target by centimeters. "Ha!" He picked up his pace. The ball of energy was growing, and his plan was working. All he had to do was hold his attention for a little bit longer. Meh! Midoriya was now running alongside the spikes towards the villain. The ball was now glimmering and shone brighter. He was jumping from spike to spike. "Chisaki!" Mirio screamed from the top of his voice. "Ultimate move! One for all! 50%! Phantom Menace! Cannon Missile!" Mirio used all the acceleration he built up to continually spin and roundhouse kick Chisaki in the head. This almost knocked him out unconscious. However, he still had some fighting spirit and fired more spikes at Mirio, who faced through the ground. Chisaki completely lost focus on what was around him. He was ready to attack again, but that proved to be a costly mistake. He slowly looked up and saw Midoriya midair, holding a large ball of energy in his hands. "You lost, hero! You can't dodge now!" He roared out. Chisaki sent a large spike, aiming right at Midoriya's abdomen. Midoriya flew up slightly and used a ball of energy to slide forward on the spike. He was now within 5 meters from the villain. Chisaki had lost all hope. "Ha!" The ball from Midoriya's hand exploded outwards and hit Chizuki full of power. This beam was different though. It had more weight to it, a solid force that acted as a giant fist. Chizuki was blown away and utterly defeated. The blue beam held on for a few seconds until Midoriya started to fall. He was losing consciousness and couldn't comprehend what just happened. His hair returned to its natural dark green and slightly black. Mirio jumped just in time to catch Midoriya falling. "You did well, Midoriya. I'm sure Sir is proud." Mirio was smiling until he realized that the fight might not be over. He looked up while holding Midoriya and saw the silhouette of someone walking towards them. Through a massive fog caused by Midoriya's last attack, he activated All for One around his body, but he was in no fighting condition. The 50% strike caused his leg to fracture slightly. He leaned heavily on his other leg and tried to brace. A hand moved out of the dust cloud, and Mirio calmed back down. He saw the white sleeve of Sir Night-Eye's suit. "You did well, kids. Now stay down. I'll take care of the rest," the pro-hero calmly delivered.
"But sir, what about Chizuki? What about Eri-chan?"
Mirio inquired, slightly alert. "The little one is with Bubble Girl. She made it out safely and is en route to our agency. I placed Chizuki in Quirk Erasing cuffs. He won't be going anywhere either. He's completely gone. White eyes and all. But he's still alive. He's going to be taken to the hospital under strict supervision from police and some other heroes I called. The ambulance should be here soon." Sir Night-Eye responded. This led Mirio to smile before collapsing and letting go of Midoriya. They both landed on the floor with smiles on their faces. Mirio was side to side with Midoriya, and their arms outstretched, breathing heavily with closed eyes. Mirio put his fist towards Midoriya, fist bumping him. Hours later, both heroes woke up in a hospital with minor injuries except for some damage to Midoriya's arms and a fracture on Mirio's leg. Although Mirio needed a cast and Midoriya had to be patched up due to the numerous cuts and a slight brace on his arms, they managed to leave the very next day. Both students returned to school with small applauses and many congratulations from their classmates and some of their teachers. Principal Nezu had a meeting between them, Sir Night-Eye and All Might. Even though the tensions between All Might and Sir Night-Eye were turbulent, both set aside their differences for the moment. Sir Night-Eye then walked up to Midoriya and looked straight into his eyes, activating his quirk. They were there for a few seconds. Sir Night-Eye trying to gather and comprehend everything going through his head, while Midoriya was slightly awkward, unsure what to say or do. There was a deafening silence, which was broken by Sir Night-Eye's small laugh. Sir Night-Eye proclaimed, "Izuku Midoriya, never give up on your dreams. If you keep fighting and keep growing, you will become what you aspire to be and much, much more. Take these next few years as baby steps leading to your grand debut as an official pro hero. And then tell the world that I am here and that you're the next top hero. One last thing. I expect you back at the agency by the end of the week. We still have quite a bit of work to do due to your medical absence. You too, Mirio. We all expect great things from you too." Sir Night-Eye proclaimed. Nezu simply smiled and kept his almost unmoving face, while All Might blasted a smile for all to see. This was the true beginning of the next top hero. This is the origins of Super Saiyan Hero, Deku. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in this story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series, guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We the Celestial Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being, we only accept members 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the Recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be. Whether you're a fan or looking to join our band, The Misfits, we're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching, and have a great day.